I'm so nervous what they're gonna pick. Oh my god, what the heck?
This is everything that I said I wanted.
Arrow, what the f? Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a fun reading experiment. Basically, the concept of this is that I am going to be getting book recommendations from book professionals and putting those recommendations to the test and seeing if they are able to recommend me a book to my taste. So the three different types of book professionals that I will be getting recommendations from are a librarian, a bookseller, and a booktuber. Now I am kind of using the term professional a little bit loosely. Not all booktubers do booktube as their profession, but I'm basically just seeking recommendations from people whose job or hobby is based around recommending books. So I'm going to be asking each individual for their book recommendations. My library has a form on their website where you can submit the form and request a recommendation, but that is what I'll be using for the librarian recommendation. For a bookseller, I'm going to be going to Barnes & Noble and trying to get a recommendation from a bookseller there. Barnes & Noble does have a lot of those like index cards that they place along the shelves with different recommendations from the sellers there. And then lastly, for the booktuber, I'm going to be getting a recommendation from Sarah without an H, who is not only one of my favorite booktubers, but also my longtime friend. If there's one booktuber who I trust explicitly to recommend me a book, it is her. And once I get all those recs, I'm going to put them to the test and read them. This is all in good fun. It's not really a competition. I'm not trying to see who recommends me the best book or who does the best job, but I'm really excited to see what everyone recommends me and to see how this goes.
All right, I'm here at Barnes & Noble and we're gonna go inside and look for some bookseller recommendations. This is a different location than I was at last time where I saw all the bookseller recommendations, so I'm hoping that this location also has a lot of those and hopefully I can find something that sounds good. Okay. That literally could not have gone any better. There were tons of bookseller recommendations in there that looked really good, but here's where it gets perfect, because as I was walking around the store, one of the booksellers noticed what I was doing and came up to me to ask why I was, like, what I was doing, like in a nice way, not like a what are you doing? So I told her about the video and she was like, oh my god, okay, I can recommend you a book. So then she asked what I like and some books that I liked. So I told her that my perfect book would be something that combines horror or darker elements with fantasy, some romance, some historical vibes. So she was like, oh my god, I know the perfect book for you. By the way, her name was Beth. Shout out to Beth. But she was like, I know the perfect book for you. And she pulled out this. Which, first of all, can we look at this cover? It is stunning. So this is called One Dark Widow by Rachel Gilling. So she said that this is a dark gothic fantasy with romance and a little bit of like historical vibes. Like she said this is everything that I said I wanted. I am stunned. I'm stunned. And I don't think I've heard of this. The little blurb on the back says, Elspeth needs a monster. The monster might be her. To stay safe in her kingdom, she needs a monster. She calls him the Nightmare, an ancient mercurial spirit trapped in her head. He protects her. He keeps her secrets. But nothing comes free, especially magic. When Elspeth meets a mysterious highwayman on the forest road, her life takes a drastic turn. Thrust into a world of shadow and deception, she joins a dangerous quest to cure the kingdom of a dark magic infecting it. Except the highwayman just so happens to be the king's own nephew, captain of the most dangerous men in the kingdom, and guilty of treason. Oh my god. Beth killed it. Beth, you killed it. I am so excited to read this. I literally feel like this could not have gone any better. And I'm so glad that it was like a personalized recommendation rather than just one like that was already sitting in the store. I'm so excited.
Hey, popping back in here to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Helix Sleep. Sleeping on a comfortable mattress is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and As a book reader, you need a comfortable place at the end of the day to sit down, snuggle in with a good book. And Helix Sleep provides premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to fit your exact needs and conveniently shipped right to your door. It comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set up. They made a sleep quiz that you take on their website to match your unique body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress. If you sleep with a partner, you can even take the quiz together and find a mattress that is the perfect compromise to fit all of your needs. So I probably have one of the worst for you sleeping positions ever. I am a stomach sleeper. I have to sleep on my stomach, but I have always had back problems because of it. And after taking the quiz, Helix matched me up with the Dusk Luxe mattress, which is made specifically for stomach sleepers. It's not too firm, not too soft, perfectly in the middle. And I've had it now for 4 months. And when I tell you this is the best, most comfortable mattress that I've ever slept on, and I no longer wake up every morning with back pain. Also, it is Loki approved. Loki loves it. He has now been sleeping in every morning because he just does not want to get out of bed. I also got their Glaciotex cooling cover upgrade, which is perfect for the summer months. I live in Texas. It gets so hot here. And this cover is made with fibers that pull heat away from your body and keep you cool during the night. And with your Helix Sleep mattress, you get a 100-night sleep trial along with a 10-year warranty. They also have financing options and flexible payment plans. And the best part about this is that they deliver it straight to your door with free shipping in the US. So if you are looking for a new bed, definitely check out Helix. You can click the link in the description and go to helixsleep.com/RileyMarie to get 20% off your Helix mattress plus 2 free pillows. And thank you to Helix Sleep for sponsoring this video. Oh my god, okay, so I just got my video from Sarah. I'm so excited. I was literally in the middle of filming a different video and I was like, pause. I'm so excited to see what she recommended. So for Sarah, I literally did not give her any guidance whatsoever because I feel like already she has an unfair advantage. Not that this is like really a competition, but she has the most unfair advantage in that she knows my book taste very well. I just let her recommend me anything.
Hey Riley, thank you so much for including me in this video concept. I'm not sure if I would call myself a professional, but I'm definitely a booktuber with recommendations. You might be able to guess the book I'm about to recommend you because I've been talking about it non-stop on my channel and I love it so much. It's a 5-star read, it's so good, I really hope that you like it. But I feel like you haven't read sci-fi in a while, so I want to put you back onto that genre. So of course I'm going to recommend The World Gives Way by Marissa Levian. For those of you who haven't heard me ranting about this book, I'll share with you what the plot is. This takes place in the distant future after the planet Earth has ended, and so the rich people at the time were like, we don't want to die. So they created this ship that would take them to a planet far away that they can live on. But unfortunately, it's going to take 200 years to get there. And they're like, in 200 years, there's going to be a lot of generations on this ship. And we don't really want to like do our own laundry or make our own food or do they do any labor because like rich people don't do that. So they decide to come up with this plan where they say, hey, poors, if you don't want to die, you can come on this ship and enter what we're going to call contract work, which is essentially like modern day slavery. And so now we are over 100 years later. And our main character, Mira, is a contract worker. Of course, she's been born into this because like I said, there's been many generations and she's not vibing with being a contract worker. She's like, yeah, no, I kind of want to get out of this. So she has an opportunity in the beginning of the book to run away, and our other main character is a detective named Tobias, and he is tasked with finding Mira on the ship. So it's a little bit of a cat and mouse chase as she's running across this ship, and we're really introduced to a lot of the world building surrounding this ship in between their chapters. I really hope that you like this. It's very different from anything that I've ever read before, and I feel like you might feel that way too, but I just got so much out of it and I hope that you do too, so can't wait to see what you think.
Oh my god. Okay, oh my god. So she recommended The World Gives Way. That was not at all what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but that was not it. However, I do really want to read this book, and I remember I heard about it from Sarah. I think she's the only person I've ever seen talk about this book, and she just made it sound so good. And I do love sci-fi, but I feel like sci-fi is something that I don't just like pick up on my own. I need like a little bit of a push. So this is perfect. Oh my god, I'm so excited to read this. All right, so now I'm going to be getting my recommendation from a librarian. I believe that most libraries have this sort of service on their website where you can get a customized book recommendation. So that is what we're gonna be doing. They have this form to fill out. It's not a very extensive form, so I'm curious to see how they go about selecting books. I'm assuming that they're gonna select a book that like they have in stock at their library, which would make sense because I feel like most people who would be trying to get a book recommendation from your librarian, you would want to then get the book from the library. So that might kind of limit it. So I think I'm just gonna completely exclude romance from like this form because I typically like indie romances, which aren't usually stocked in libraries or they're very selective with what they have. So I just feel like it would be easier to just avoid romance completely and maybe try to get something in a different genre. Here we go. It says, looking for another good book but having trouble narrowing it down? Let us tailor a custom list to your interests. We will compile a recommended list and email it to you within a week. List some books, subjects, authors, podcasts, movies, or TV shows that you've enjoyed. What did you like about them? Oh my god, that's such like a broad thing to say. I guess I'll start with books. Let's do love books with a cozy fantasy setting. Legends and Lattes, Wayward Children series. Love books with LGBTQ plus characters. This is how you lose the time war. And now I'm out of characters. They do not let you type enough. So I have This Is How You Lose the Time War, A Dowry of Blood, LGBTQ characters, cozy fantasy, T. Kingfisher, Becky Chambers, Wayward Children series, Legends and Lattes. I feel like that's good. Okay. List some books, subjects, authors, podcasts, movies, or TV shows you've not enjoyed. No nonfiction. I guess that's it. Okay. What types of books are you interested in? Okay, fantasy, horror. I'm gonna check romance, but I feel like based on the options that I gave them, all of those books and series have like small romance subplots in them, so I don't want to completely like rule out books with romance. I want to dissuade them from just giving me like romance books. And then preferred way to access your title, I'm just gonna click all. Let's do not audiobook on CD, but I'll do print, ebook, and e-audiobook. I'm just already feeling not good vibes from this form. I'm gonna be honest, because it didn't let me type a lot. We're just gonna go for it. Let's just submit it. It says we'll be in touch soon. I'm so nervous what they're gonna pick. Oh my god. I don't have a good feeling. Which, like, that's fine. I get it. This is a free service that they're like offering from the library. I shouldn't be putting that much expectations into it. I will check back in probably like a week with whatever they recommended me. Okay, I'm literally on reading sprints right now. I had to pause it and come on here because I just opened up my email and I didn't even realize what I was opening, but it was my library requests. Just for like context, it's been like 3.5 weeks. On their website, I think it said it took like a week to get the recommendations back, but I totally get why it took longer. Obviously, like, it's the holiday season, they're probably busy. It's also a free service, so I wasn't expecting them to be like super quick with it. Okay, so this is from Maddie, Librarian Maddie. Oh my god, I'm so nervous. At this point, since it has been so long, I don't even really remember what I asked for. Okay. Okay, let me just read this. It's long. I didn't know what I was expecting. I was expecting something very quick. Like, it's a free service. I'm not expecting much, but it already looks like a lot. It says, thank you for using Austin's Public Library personal picks. Apologies for the delay in our reply. The holidays are always our busiest time. Yeah, okay. Based on what you've shared, here's some titles I think you might enjoy. Number 1, Empress of Salt and Fortune by Ning Vo, which I have read. The Empress of Salt and Fortune is a historical epic condensed into 120 pages full of poignancy, intrigue, secret romance, queerness, and mythical fables. Okay, so I have already read this. I read this actually in my vlog where I read books that my favorite author has recommended. So like very similar. I didn't end up liking this book. I think I gave it like 3 stars, and I've since read 3 books by this author and haven't really enjoyed any of them. So I just think this author is not necessarily the author for me, but I totally understand the recommendation. I 100%, I'm with you. I get the recommendation. Obviously, like, this is a book I already picked up myself that I thought I would love and give 5 stars. So okay, I'm already hopeful because even though I didn't love this book, we're in the realm of things that I think I would enjoy. Okay, next one. The next one is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which you guys know is one of my all-time favorite books. This is what Maddie said. The House in the Cerulean Sea is a feel-good and thought-provoking fantasy that illustrates the importance of found family and how rich and meaningful these relationships can be. That's a perfect recommendation for me. That is a 5-star book. That was my favorite book that I read in 2020. Amazing. Oh my God. Okay. The next recommendation, Graceling. Okay, interesting. Okay, Graceling by Kristen Cashore. Okay, I have not read this. I do think that I own it though. But she said, this series contains some of the most emotionally moving scenes, coolest magic system and world building, and heart-pounding adventure that I've ever come across in the fantasy genre. It kicks off with Graceling, which follows Katsa, a young woman with the grace of killing, as she secretly undermines the court of her uncle, the king. But when she meets Poe, a prince whose fighting grace is the only one who can keep up with hers, her plans, fears, and dreams are accelerated. There is romance, political intrigue, and a delightful cast of characters who will make you laugh and cry. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I think I've had this book for a really long time, but I never looked into it much, like what it was about. That sounds really good, actually. Interesting, I'm intrigued. Oh my God, there are so many recs in here. I thought that was it. I just scrolled and there's more. Oh my God, okay. So the next one is When the Moon Was Ours by Anna Marie McLemore, who I have read a book from, but I haven't read this one. So this one is both a fairy tale and an ode to different types of love. When the Moon Was Ours follows two best friends and their love for each other as they explore gender identity, secret keeping, and the push and pull of family culture and history. And Latinx folklore roots the bright, elegant writing and magical realism with a deep sense of humanity. Oh my God, that sounds great too. Okay, the next one is The Mythic Dream. This is an anthology of myth retellings from around the world and across history. It contains stories from almost all of the authors you've listed. Oh my God, really? It spans fantasy, space opera, cyberpunk, and more, and particularly centers themes of resistance, love, solidarity, and female agency. Oh my God, hold on. Who has written in this? I don't know that I've heard of this. Oh my God. It has Seanan McGuire, T. Kingfisher, Rebecca Roanhorse, Sarah Gailey, Stephen Graham Jones, Naomi Novik, what? Amal El-Motar. Oh my God, what the heck? How have I never heard of this anthology? Oh my God. Okay, the next one is The Book of Gothel by Mary McMine. Since you like horror and works by T. Kingfisher, I'd suggest The Book of Gothel. It's a retelling of the Rapunzel fairy tale, but told from the witch's point of view. A true villain origin story, this novel looks at the historic and cultural distrust of witchcraft in 12th century Germany and how the young women who are accused of it can make their own escapes and paths through the world. Lush, descriptive, and empowering, this story is a sprawling epic of magic, love, and belonging. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I actually think that I have this book. I think I might have gotten an advanced copy of it, but it just kind of like got lost in my sea of books. That sounds great. Okay, and then there's like an extra. There are so many more. For sci-fi, I'd suggest Light from Uncommon Stars. For historical settings, try Chalice by Robin McKinley. And The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, which I love. For a sweet paranormal romance, take a look at the graphic novel Fangs by Sarah Anderson. For another contemporary setting, check out The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Oh my God, which I loved, gave 5 stars. For more horror elements like T. Kingfisher, try Spinning Silver and Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Read both of those. Spinning Silver is one of my favorite fantasy books. I hope you find something you like. Let me know if I've missed the mark. I'm happy to give it another try. Happy reading, Maddie. Oh my God. That was so much more than I could have hoped for. Oh my God, I think I need to look into these books a little bit more before I really decide which one I want to read. I'm also very excited. I do want to point out that the majority of the books that she recommended me were queer, which was something that I asked for. Basically, I think what I'm trying to decide between is Graceling, The Mythic Dream, which actually sounds like amazing, The Book of Gothel. Those were the main ones that she recommended. Okay, I'm gonna need to think about this for a little bit, but like, oh my God, Maddie killed it. Maddie killed it with these recs. So the first book I'm reading in this vlog is The World Gives Way by Marissa Levian. I need to admit, in my current moment in time, I'm already finished with this whole video, and I needed to come back in here and sort of re-explain some things because this was the first book that I read in 2023, and when I read this, I was right in the middle of being the most sick that I've ever been in my life. I had a very serious lung infection, and it was so hard for me to breathe and talk, and I did film a couple clips reading this and talking about this, but it is so hard to understand what I'm saying because I literally could not speak. And I was like huffing and puffing. So I'm going to re-explain this book, and then I do have a clip of me reading the ending of it, and you will see my immediate reaction upon finishing this book. But basically, this book is a sci-fi that takes place in a future where Earth is no longer habitable. So the wealthy people of the world craft this huge spaceship in order to travel in space, searching for somewhere else to live. Searching for a new planet is going to take centuries. These wealthy people decide to allow poor people to join them on this spaceship if they go into contracted service work. And what this contracted service work is basically saying is if you come into the ship and you work, your following generations, your great-great-great-grandchild will be able to live in this new world. Humans have now been in this spaceship for hundreds of years, to the point where nobody alive in the ship was ever on Earth. Earth is now kind of a myth, and the spaceship is all that they know of the world. So we're following this contract worker named Mira. She's basically like the nanny for this very wealthy couple and their baby. And at the very beginning of the book, her employers commit suicide. But right before they do that, they tell her something in the ship is broken and we're all doomed. The world is ending. So they like drop this huge bomb on her and then kill themselves. And so Mira is very scared. One, that she now has this information that the ship is gonna break down and nobody knows about it. And two, she's now left with this baby to take care of, and she is afraid that the cops are going to pin the deaths of her employers on her. So she takes the baby and flees. The other main character in this book is a detective who is on the case trying to track her down, and it's kind of like a cat and mouse chase to find her. So that is the general plot of the story going on. I'll now give you guys my live, real reaction to reading the ending of this book. I'm a little bit embarrassed to put this on the internet. I don't think I've ever actually cried in a video, but here you go for your entertainment.
The World Is Written by Marissa Lee. Read by Lucy Lynn. Production supervised by Gothel. Directed by Biscuit. Post-production by Christine and Farrell. Recorded in the...
Sarah, what the fuck? I'm too emotional right now for that kind of devastation. Why? This was my first book of the year, and I'm distraught. Okay, I've composed myself a little bit. Oh my god, my makeup. Can we just like zoom into this? My makeup is a mess. Obviously, I've been crying. This book has now emotionally destroyed me. Sarah, please expect to get a bill from my therapist for the emotional damage that you have just forced upon me. But this book is 5 stars. Y'all, I can't, I actually cried. I can't remember the last time I felt this emotional over a book. Like, this might end up being my favorite book of the year, and it's the only book I've read so far this year. What the fuck? Respectfully, Marissa Librarian. What the fuck? So it's been quite a while since I read this now, and this is still my favorite book that I read this whole year. I have not stopped thinking about this book for 1 second. This book really reminded me of the style of writing that Emily St. John Mandel has, specifically in Station 11, and I really think if you are a fan of Station 11, you will also like this book, because we get perspectives of a bunch of different people throughout this world kind of having to face this world-ending event. This also has one of the coolest worlds I've ever seen, because this spaceship is so massive. At one point, I think they said that it is the size of Switzerland, so it's the size of an entire country. The spaceship was crafted to resemble Earth, so it has multiple ecosystems inside of it. There's jungle regions, there's a mountain range, there's an underwater city that was supposed to be like a casino Vegas type of city in these domed pods under the ocean. I said this in my wrap up, but it really reminded me of that scene in Zootopia when they're going along the train and traveling through all the different ecosystems. That was like what I was picturing in this spaceship. So it was really cool to see Mira, like she's on the run, so she's traveling to all these different places, trying to hide from the detectives and figuring out a way to protect this baby from the world ending. And another thing that was really interesting about this is that, like I said, there's no one left alive who was on Earth or who remembers Earth, and there's no windows inside the spaceship. They can't see outside. They don't know what space is. They know the concept of like, yeah, they're on a spaceship traveling somewhere, but that's kind of just like, they can't conceptualize that. They don't really know what that means because they don't know what is outside of the ship. The ship is all that they know, and they refer to the ship as the world because it is their world and there's nothing beyond that. And it really reminded me of this middle grade series that I was obsessed with when I was in elementary school called The City of Ember, which is kind of a similar concept where there's like a nuclear war and humans have to move underground and create this underground civilization, but then they're down there for so long that no one remembers what being above ground was, so everyone just thinks that they're in this world of darkness and there's nothing else. And I was obsessed with that series when I was a kid, and this concept really reminded me of that, but in a more adult way and going much, much deeper into those kind of existential discussions. Guaranteed this book will make you have an existential crisis. I'm honestly just so impressed with this book. This is a debut book, and like, it's just so amazing, and it's one that I literally have not heard about from anyone other than Sarah. A lot of times what happens is like after I find out about a book that I've never heard of before, I start to then see it everywhere. I have not seen this book anywhere. What is going on? Like, if there's one book that I just really, really want people to read, it is this one. This was so amazing. It is very rare for me to emotionally connect to a book as much as I did with this one. Yeah, I mean, this was 5 stars. Like I said, I'd be very, very surprised if this was not my favorite book at the end of the year, which for this being my first book that I read this year, to set that tone was kind of crazy. But yeah, thank you, Sarah, so much for this recommendation. You killed it. Like, killed it. I will forever be in your debt for bringing this book into my life. I started One Dark Window, and I'm really enjoying this so far. Hello, would you like to hear about this book? This is a fantasy book that takes place in this world where magic is a plague. There is dark magic that is infecting the kingdom, and anyone who catches the plague ends up developing some sort of magical ability, but it also causes some sort of degeneration, whether that is like physical or mental. So people who get the plague and get the magic are usually executed. And the main character, Elspeth, she caught the plague when she was a kid, and her aunt protected her and kept it a secret. So now she has this mysterious voice in her head called the Nightmare, which is like an ancient spirit that communicates with her and is trapped in her mind. And it's a secret that she doesn't want anyone to find out. In this kingdom, the only way that people can legally wield magic is with these cards that were created, and each card is imbued with a different type of magic. And if you are in possession of one of these cards, you can wield that type of magic. And so the magical ability that Elspeth got when she was infected with the plague is that she can see these cards. For her, each card gives off a different color, so she can see them in the dark with her eyes closed from far away. She can see if it's hidden in someone's pocket, if it's buried somewhere. She has the ability to find these cards. And so this group of people, including this one highwayman, discovered that she has this ability, and they are trying to collect all the cards. So they lure her to their little team and get her to help them collect all the cards. It's like Pokemon. They gotta collect them all, okay? And there's romance, there's banter. The magic system is a little bit complicated. It took me a little bit to understand, and I don't know if I'm actually explaining it in a way that you guys will be able to understand. There's a lot of moving pieces to the magic system and the world, but it's very interesting so far, and I'm really enjoying it, but specifically really enjoying the banter. Oh my god, I love the banter. I'm here for the romance, and I also love the nightmare spirit that's in her head and speaks to her. He like tells her to do bad things. Listen, I am here for it. I am loving it. I'm really enjoying it. I finished One Dark Window. Oh my god, I loved this. This was so much fun. I feel like this is one of those books that isn't anything particularly new. If you've read a lot of fantasy romance, or honestly just romances with a strong fantasy subplot, it follows a similar plot structure to a lot of those, but I just loved it so much. I loved the characters. I do think that the magic system was unique and very cool. It combined a lot of different magic systems from other fantasy books that I really enjoy, and the idea of like this magical plague and then these cards that people can wield to use magic, and the main character having this like ancient spirit trapped in her head. It was really, really cool. I loved the romance. Loved the romance. I did not realize that this is the first book in a series. I thought it was a standalone, so when we got to the end and it ends on kind of like a cliffhanger, I actually got really excited. I do typically prefer fantasy standalones, but I was just loving this so much, and I was so entertained and having such a good time that I'm so glad that there's gonna be another book. I think it's just a duology though. I'm pretty sure the second book is the last one. I really enjoyed the writing. The writing was super good. The audiobook was also really good because when she's like in her head talking back and forth with the nightmare, the narrator does like different voices that sound really creepy. And it definitely has all of those elements that I asked the bookseller for. It's dark fantasy. It is kind of a historical setting. Oh, I just loved it. I loved it so much. I feel like the closest thing that this probably reminds me of is Poison Study, which is my OG like favorite fantasy romance. So I feel like if you enjoy Poison Study, you have to read this. I'm so excited for the second book to come out. I think that I'm gonna be giving this 4.5 stars and not a full 5 stars, but it's very, very close to 5 stars. And I can't even explain like anything that was missing or lacking or that I didn't like. I'm more just going off of a feeling. It feels more like a 4.5, but I do think that after having read the second book, depending on how that one goes, it could be a 5 star. But this is such a great recommendation. So I'm starting the final book now. This is the one that was recommended by the librarian, and I spent a long time deciding which book I wanted to read, and I think the one that interests me the most is the Book of Gothel. So this one is supposedly like an origin story for Mother Gothel, who is the villain in Rapunzel. I don't think it's a retelling. I don't think this is about Rapunzel. I think this is about like everything that led up to before the events of Rapunzel. It says, everyone knows the story of Rapunzel in the tower, but do you know the story of the witch who put her there? It's a beautiful historical reimagining told from the witch's perspective, a story of motherhood, magic, and the stories we pass down to our children. I'm kind of getting the vibe that it's going to be in like a similar vein to The Bear and the Nightingale, where it is fantasy, but it leans more on the historical side. And I do really like fantasy books that are more historical, so I'm excited to start this. Oh, and I did want to say I am also reading The Mythic Dream, which is the anthology collection that she recommended, but this isn't like my official pick for her book because I don't typically love short story collections, because a lot of times I'll read them and like I'll enjoy half the stories and then the other half I don't really like, so it's kind of hit or miss. But it was gifted to me for Christmas, so I do want to give it a try. I have already read stories from Seanan McGuire, T. Kingfisher, and Rebecca Roanhorse. And what's cool about this is that these are reimaginings of like classic myths, but it doesn't tell you what the myth that it's based on is until after the story, which I kind of really like, because you're going into them with like a clean slate and not knowing what it's supposed to be based on. And some of them are ones that I'm like familiar with, and other ones are from cultures that I've never heard of that myth before, so it's cool to be introduced to some new stories. Of the 3 that I've read so far from Seanan McGuire, T. Kingfisher, and Rebecca Roanhorse, Rebecca Roanhorse's was actually my favorite and was the one that was based on a myth I've never heard of before. Hers was like a cyberpunk, almost Black Mirror type of story about this man whose wife dies, and there's this drug that you can take to be able to see your deceased loved one, but it ends up not being as amazing as he thought it would be. And I really liked that story. So I'm gonna keep kind of like jumping around and reading different stories in here. So I did want to update about this, but it is not like my official pick for the vlog. So I finished the book of Gothel, and I'm a little torn on how I feel about it. I really enjoyed it. I loved the writing style. It was so beautiful and felt like a fairy tale. Did I even really say what this is about other than it is like a Rapunzel inspired book about Mother Gothel? Okay, basically it's told from the perspective of this girl named Helweis, and she is an outcast in her town because she was born with black eyes and she has like fainting spells. So people think that she has been like cursed by a demon or that she's a witch. So she's very ostracized. And then her mother dies and she's no longer safe in her village. So she sets off on a journey to this mysterious and magical tower that her mother always told her stories of. And that takes her to the Tower of Gothel and kind of leads her on this journey of self-discovery, self-acceptance, learning this sort of ancient religion that her mother was a part of where they worshipped the goddess. It really reminded me of The Bear and the Nightingale in this way where it was a fairy tale like story that did have magic in it but felt much more historical and leaned more into the historical with just like a dash of magic. I really don't know that I would call this like explicitly a fantasy book. I would say that this is a historical book with sprinkles of magic, similar to how I would describe this. It is a very slow-paced book, building atmosphere, building the characters, building the story. And for the most part, I did enjoy that. I loved the beginning, I loved the end, but I think that there was a section in the middle that was a little too slow, and I got bored and I was just kind of like waiting for the next thing to happen. But I loved Helweis as a character. There were a bunch of side characters in here that I also really love, and I would 100% read another book by this author because the writing, like I said, was beautiful. I think that I'm gonna be giving this one 3.5 stars. It's very close to a 4-star, but I just don't feel like I can give it 4 stars. So I'm gonna go 3.5, but it was very enjoyable. I did really like it, and I think it was a great recommendation for me. And I would say that if you liked The Bear and the Nightingale, this is definitely a book that you need to check out. So that is all of the books completed for this video. I think for a vlog where I completely left the control up to other people, this was very successful. We had a 4.5 star, 3.5 star, and a 5 star. Obviously, The World Gives Away is my favorite book of the vlog. It was the most successful. I'm not surprised that Sarah did the best at recommending me a book because obviously she's the one who knows me personally and knows my book taste and me very well. But all in all, I think everyone was successful at choosing a book for me that fits within my taste. Each one of these books, I think, reminded me of and resembled a book that I really love. The World Gives Away reminded me of Station 11. The Book of Gothel reminded me of The Bear and the Nightingale. And One Dark Window reminded me of Poison Study. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this video went, and I'm so glad to have found some new books that I really enjoyed. I hope you guys liked this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!